A lot of people ask us how to get a six-pack. For starters, that's nutrition, so side note. But the second part of it is that so much of core training should be based upon injury prevention and better posture. So what I want you to think about is that most people focus on crunches and a lot of sit-ups. The problem with that is if we look at Stuart McGill, who's one of the best back researchers in the world, when we do a lot of sit-ups and crunches, imagine that we're flexing a credit card. Over time, it's gonna break. So what we wanna focus on is not so much motion creation, but we wanna focus on motion prevention. So what we're gonna show you today is our top 3 ways to train the core that will keep you pain-free, your back healthy, and help improve your overall quality of life. So the first move we're gonna do is a high plank with a shoulder tap. So this is an anti-rotation exercise. So what Nicole's gonna do is imagine that there's fine china or a glass of water on her back. When she raises one arm off the floor, she's gonna get her midsection really tight and aim to keep her back as still as possible as she raises up. This is gonna force her core to resist motion and resist rotation through her hips, which is gonna hit all those deep muscles of the core musculature, give her core a good hit here. And what she's gonna do is aim for 8 to 10 reps each side, again, as still as possible. And she's gonna aim to make sure that there's no movement at all. All right, so a more advanced version, again, Nicole is in this case a bear crawl position, so her shoulders stacked over her wrist. Now her legs are floating above the floor, so she's putting a lot more work on her quadriceps and legs. Same thing, she's gonna imagine there's that glass of water on the back. She does not wanna spill that water. And what she's aiming to do is really focus on driving her hand into the floor hard, keeping as much stiffness to her core. And as she raises her hand off the floor, those hips barely move. And again, a phenomenal way to train the deep core musculature. She's gonna do 8, 10, 12 reps each side. Nicole could probably go all day, but phenomenal way to progress from that first plank variation to a more advanced one in this bear crawl technique. Barbell anti-rotation is called bus drivers. So what Nicole's gonna do is her hips are nice and square with the wall in front of her. Her feet are about hip width apart. What she's gonna do is she's gonna lower the barbell down towards one hip, keeping her hips nice and square with the wall in front of her. She's gonna tighten up her midsection and she's gonna arc it all the way to the other side. And her whole focus is making sure that if she had headlights on the front of her hips, they'd be remaining forward the whole time. And then she's gonna keep that steady arcing motion. So this is a phenomenal way to train the entire core musculature. She's keeping her glutes engaged throughout the movement, head's tucked, and she's gonna aim to do 8 to 10 reps each side. And this is one of the most effective ways to work the entire core musculature. An anti-extension move. So what Nicole's gonna do is her back's nice and flat on the floor, her legs are bent at 90 degrees, and then she's dorsiflexing her feet, which means she's pointing her toes towards her head. What she's gonna do is she's gonna reach her arms back to the wall behind her while she lowers one leg, and she's gonna go back into her biceps in line with her ears. She's gonna zip up her midsection, so imagine she's zip locking her abs into the spine, and then she's gonna come back to the start. And then she's gonna do the opposite leg. And what she wants to do is forcefully exhale at the bottom of the movement, which is gonna turn on all the deep pelvic floor muscles. And she's gonna come back to the start. And the whole idea with this is that she goes back and she gets that forceful exhale. She's gonna do that slight pause at the bottom, and her body's working on resisting forces that are extension through the spine. She's gonna aim to do 5 to 6 reps each side. And then if she wants to make this more advanced, besides adding weight, Nicole can put the weight into one hand, so she can move it. And so now in this case, her right hand goes back, her left leg reaches. And this is a phenomenal way to train the core, especially for people that are runners, because this is gonna help build that strong foundation. All right, an advanced version of an anti-extension move, this is called a body saw. This is a phenomenal move. So Nicole is gonna basically have her arms forming an L shape on the floor, so she's pushing off the floor, straight line from the back of her head to her heels, her feet are elevated, and then she's gonna keep a nice neutral spine. So her spine's gonna stay straight as she reaches to the back wall, tightening up her midsection, and then she's gonna come back to the start. You can just shorten it up because that's really advanced. So she's gonna reach back, tighten up her midsection, and then she's gonna drive her elbows into the floor as she comes back to the starting position. The key thing to keep in mind here is that she's not letting her hips sag at all. And as she goes back, she's thinking about like zip locking or shrink wrapping her abs as she reaches back and then driving back to the start. We're gonna go anywhere from 8 to 10 reps, and then over time she can increase her range of motion to make this more difficult. This is definitely a more advanced move, so take your time and have fun. What we're gonna do in this case is called anti-lateral flexion. So Nicole's gonna aim to keep her shoulders nice and level. She's gonna imagine she has a book placed on the top of her head. And what she's gonna do is she's gonna raise one leg off the ground. And she's gonna aim to keep those shoulders level while she really focuses on gripping, in this case, the platform. And she's staying nice and tall. She's doing a really good job of keeping herself level. And so she's gonna aim for 20 to 30 seconds of this, and then we'll switch sides. What's great about this is a phenomenal way to build strength from the ground up while she works to stabilize and balance. While the weight's pulling her down in one direction, she's working on staying nice and tall. Most people just think about the six-pack of the abs, but this is actually working core muscles in her lower back, which is gonna make her more resilient to injury. Nicole is gonna focus on keeping a straight line from her head down to her heels. She's got alignment of her ear, shoulder, hip, knee, ankle are all lined up. She's actively pushing the floor away from her. Her head's in good alignment. This is a phenomenal way to work her obliques and some of those deeper pelvic floor muscles. If she wanted to make this more advanced, she can raise her top arm and then reach underneath and touch her lat as she tightens up her midsection, and then open all the way up to the start. By adding that little rotation, she's gonna put a little bit more stress and work on the core. She's gonna aim to do anywhere from 8 to 12 reps. And then as time progresses, if you really wanna make things hard, you can always work on lifting the top leg, and now you have a really advanced way to work your core.